Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the very first edition of GhentJS. Thank you. My name is Nick, and together with Guus and Klaas, who's over there, we organized this meetup because we found there was no real quality JavaScript meetup anymore in Ghent, so we're here. Hello. And yeah, let's go to the next slide. This is the agenda. I've had to cross this one out because the first speaker was Sven Lombard. Yes, was. He was going to do something about components in React, but unfortunately he's very ill and he had to call out sick, but no fear. We have our very own Jens Segers in the house as well. Yeah. And he's going to talk about how to build a digital ID card. So I'm very excited as well to see what that's about. And second up is Joris, but yeah, actually he's first up because Jens is, he just came back from the dentist as well, so be gentle on him, guys. And Joris is going to talk about state management across micro apps. And first of all, a very big thank you to Team Leader. We are here, of course, and we just provided you with food. I hope that was good, and some beers, and afterwards, of course, we can still have some more. But Stijn will tell you more about what Team Leader does and what we stand for here. And if you have need more information about what we are trying to do, if you want to do a talk yourself and don't call in sick, of course, then you can visit javascript.ghent or come talk to us or tweet at GhentJS. By the way, you have probably noticed the camera right there and the camera right there. We are live streaming on YouTube, and the talks will be online as well afterwards. So enjoy your night, and thank you.
Yeah, also on our behalf, welcome at Team Leader. Yeah, I have to talk a little bit about what we do, but as you all know how the internet works, you can find that on our website. Let's try to present ourselves a bit in a different way and tell you some things you might not know. So I'm going to ask you what you think this number represents. Yeah, some of you know, it's the amount of customers we have. So team leading people or ex-team leading people, shut up. What's this number? It's not employees, no. No, we do better than that. Any ideas? It's the growth percentage in our first 4 years. I don't have the most recent numbers, but we grew 2,079%, which gave us the award from Deloitte, I think, the best performing tech company in Belgium. So we were proud of it. What's this? Yeah, it's the amount of countries we're active in Europe. It's also our age. What's this? No. Matthias? You know? It's the amount of cooks we have on our payroll. So we have 2 in-house cooks. They have a lot of work during the week, so they don't do the events anymore, but they used to do that. So maybe when we go back to 3, when we go to 3 cooks, we might have home-cooked dinner at meetups. What's this? No, it's not the revenue. It's not profit. It's funding. It's the total amount of funding we had. What is this? Close. It's not the amount of developers we have. Employees, it's not. We have about 180 employees in total, so that's not it. Other guesses? It's not the product team in general. It's actually the amount of components we have in our UI library. So we have an internal component library that is also publicly available and documented on teamleader.design, I think, if I remember correctly. So that's a big, I think that's really helped us forward in the last couple of months. 18. Any ID? Legal drinking age, correct. Now, team leader related. It's the average deploys we do per week. So it's quite a lot, and we're quite proud of that. 8. We're amount of rollback deploys. No, that's actually, well, maybe per month. This could be the amount of rollback deploys per month, but it's quite. I think it's less than 5%. But it's the amount of development teams we have. So we're structured in 8 different teams, and then we have also supporting teams like DevOps and like design and stuff like that. But one of the teams we have, for example, is a team that is dedicated to building that UI component library. So yeah, I need to remember myself what it is. So what is this? Guesses? It's Git related. Git related. It's not the amount of branches, it's not the repositories, it's not the amount of open pull requests, it's way lower. It's I think it's around 30 or 40 that we have, and but it's the average size of a pull request. So we have like 92 lines on average in a pull request. So very small chunks that we ship, really doing CD. And this is the last one. 36. Class, have a second guess? The amount of developers we have, right? Maybe I didn't introduce myself. I'm Stijn. I'm head of engineering here. I'm not an actor because you might have seen this on Facebook. You don't have? Oh. Nick, I thought you said you tested the sound. Okay. Well, the sound doesn't really matter, I guess. So, like everyone, we're looking for people to join our team. But if you want to know something more about it, I think there are a lot of team leading people here. So don't hesitate to ask some questions, things you would like to know this evening over a drink. So good luck to the speakers. We're very pleased to have you here, and yeah, have fun.
Yes, test. Yes, so good evening, everybody. My name is Joris. I'm a front-end engineer at Lightspeed, and I will do the very first talk here at GhentJS meetup. Thanks for that. Finally, a meetup that I can go to close to home, close to work, not having to cross completely to Brussels anymore, stuck in the traffic. So thank you for the organizers for organizing this. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about state management between different micro applications. Lately, more and more, when I'm reading blogs, when I'm following Twitter, I see a lot of tweets and posts about micro apps and why you should use micro apps instead of only choosing for one technology. And in every example you see, yeah, it's simple micro apps, and between the different micro apps, there's no correlation anyhow. So not a single article or presentation that I read talks about, okay, how can you manage shared state between different micro apps? So this is what I'm going to talk about today. And so I'm going to introduce a little bit of micro apps, but there are resources in my presentation. If you want to know more about micro apps on itself, yeah, you can read that on internet. So I'm not going to go too deep into micro apps today. So what did I create? Some weeks ago, I created another to-do app. So what's different in this to-do app? Everything in red is in Angular, everything in blue is in React, and everything in green is Vue. So normally, from day to day, I do mostly Angular development, so I think I'm pretty good at this. React, I do it after hours when I do some small side projects. Vue, it was the very first time I did Vue for this proof of concept, so don't shoot me if you see my view code and it isn't like you expect it to be. So, and I'm just going to explain you how I created this app and to show you that it really works as well. I have it here open. So you can see we can add some to-dos. The React will update. You will see here how many finished to-dos I have. Once I click on to-dos, it will change here. When I click clear all, he will ask me to see if I'm really sure to remove everything. I said yes, so everything is gone. So you see all the different technologies are working together and they're sharing some state. And yeah, let's find out how it did this. So, okay, Angular React View, we already know this. Maybe one little background about why I did this proof of concept. In a company I worked, we had some discussion with management. We had some Angular applications. We had some React applications. We had some plain vanilla applications. And the CTO was requesting, okay, guys, what are you going to do? Choose Angular, choose React, choose whatever framework you want, but please stick to one framework. We have people that only know React, and if they have to do something in Angular, they don't know where to start, and the other way around. So for me, yeah, I wasn't really, I didn't like that opinion because his only reason to choose one framework was how did we do the communication between the different applications then? Just iframes, everything, and with post messages, sending messages from one application to the other one. And it was hard to maintain. We had a lot of duplicate work. And I agreed on that it was a lot of overhead and it was not maintainable. But I did not agree that the solution was, let's choose one framework. If you look at backend, I think microservices are one of the biggest advantages over the last decade. That you could work with different technologies and achieve one global thing. So I thought, why can't we do the same in the front-end world as well? So instead of choosing for one technology, I created this proof of concept to show him, hey, we can do communication in another way, like we're already used if we would create one single page application. So if we can do this, then we don't need to choose any technology anymore. Every team can choose for its own, in what they want to work. If they want to do Vue, let them do Vue. If they want to do React, let them do React. If it goes faster this way, why not doing it this way? So why would we indeed mix the different frameworks? Of course, you have some teams that say, okay, I can only do React, I can only do Angular. So why would you force a team to do something that they're not used to? Most of the time, if you ask to somebody who has years of React experience to do something in Angular, it will take 10 times as long as he should be able to do it in React. On the other side, there's a lot of there are big communities after behind each framework. So, but each framework has different libraries. If you have a nice reporting library in React, but you have an Angular application, yeah, why just not use that React library to do a representation of your graphs? Why would you try to go for something less in Angular if there's something pretty nice in React? And for me, the last reason is, yeah, because we can. I think everybody here, if they go to work, they just want to have fun. And what's more fun than just discovering some new stuff and trying to make it work instead of going for the easy way and just do it because somebody says it to do so. So, what were the different things? The first thing, indeed, we tried iframes. There's some cool things about iframes. One, it's supported by every browser, even IE11 and before. Yeah, they work with iframes. Second to that, every app runs isolated, so you know that one app can't mingle with another app and mess something up. So that's pretty neat as well. And you have separate deployments. But for me, the biggest disadvantages were UI, UX. For instance, if you have this modal is coming from the Vue application. So imagine that the Vue application, this small green bar in the bottom, was an iframe. How would you show the modal in the middle of your screen? So we did the same with iframes at my previous company. And what was the solution? Okay, we're going to send the post message to the parent. Hey, can you show me an iframe for me? Can you show me a modal for me? And that means all the business logic that normally should be part of the green application suddenly is transferred to the shell application or the whatever parent application there is, because the green application itself can't show the model because it's sandboxed and it can only work in the borders of the iframe. And that means if your application is also standalone, what was the case in our at our company, then you have to duplicate the complete model again in your green application as well, because if the customer is going to the application directly, they want to see a model as well. So you have duplicate business logic. You have business logic in places that you don't want to have business logic, and this just for one stupid model like this. So for me, that was too much of work. And together with that, yeah, you had the communication. I think everybody who worked with post messages, it's not fun to work with. Even if you go IE11, then suddenly you have some restrictions and you have the security things, and then suddenly one iframe can't work with the other iframe anymore because they're running on separate domains. And yeah, for me, this was a no-go to go for micro apps. So for me, the solution, micro apps. That's why we're here. So like I already said, I'm not going to talk too much about micro apps itself. Manfred Steyer, he's a Google developer expert, and he has written a lot of nice articles and examples and blogs about micro apps. You can find them here. I would say if you're interested in micro apps, visit it, read it. He also he gives some coaching at companies itself. So if you can convince your manager to get him to Belgium, he's from Germany. It's a pretty neat guy to talk with. He has some nice ideas. It's a smart guy, and you can learn a lot about micro apps from this one. But just to give a quick introduction, according to Manfred, what is a micro app? In the beginning, you just create a shell app. Why? Just to make routing easy, to keep some root state, and maybe to create a messaging bus for messaging between different micro apps. Most of the time, you take something like React, Vue, or Angular, and then you create separate small applications and you wrap them as web components. I think Angular, Vue, and React can all render web components without any issue. So this way you can just use it as normal HTML in your shell application. Then afterwards, you share some state between the components. And this was for me the problem when reading articles. Every blog stopped with this. They just said, yeah, now you can share some state, but not a single article told me how you can share some state. So again, proof of concept I created here. So how did we do it? So I was just wondering, why don't we use just a normal state management library? I think everybody here worked or with Redux or with NGRX, the Angular solution, or with Vuex, the Vue solution, if they created a single application. So I think we have solutions like this. They're built by a big community, they're maintained, they're being used in a lot of applications. So why couldn't we use something like this in our micro applications? For me, let's maybe take one step back. For me, I asked the question, okay, forget about micro applications. How would we do this when we would create a single page application in one technology? So if you create a big application, at least that's something what I do, you have some shared state that you know every module will need this shared state. This can be some authentication, for instance, the current user that is logged in, an organization that is logged in, something that every module in your application needs. Then next to this, you will create some lazy loaded modules. So you have some user interface, you have some products page, you have another page, all lazy loaded, and they can use the shared state. But besides this, every lazy loaded module also have their own specific state. So there's something that is being added by the shared state that's only reachable by the lazy loaded model, and they can communicate between each other, all the different modules, by just dispatching actions. And you have all your reducers and everything in the back to glue everything together. So I think most people work like this if they create a big application. So for me was, if we just replace the lazy loaded modules by micro apps, then my solution is solved. So why don't we use the same principle for micro apps indeed? So what was the first thing I did? I think Redux is the most well-known state management library out there. And it has bindings for Angular, it has bindings for React, and it has bindings for Vue. So why don't we just create one Redux store, provide it in your shell, do the shared state management over there, and then just pass along the reference of your store to all your Angular, React, and Vue web components. It's as simple as that. And then suddenly you have shared state between all your web components and your micro apps. It's really as simple as that. So I have some code here. This is some React. So the only thing I did, I think everybody knows the provider from React Redux and the store. Instead of using the own created store from your library, from your application, you just give the store as a property, as an input prop, and it's then to the shell to give you the right store. It's nothing more than that. And this is the micro app. You can create an own standalone app by doing the same code, but by using your own store. So this micro app can run completely standalone for testing and other purposes. But there was nothing more I had to do for my micro app by just creating this wrapper around it. For the rest, I just used the connect functions. I dispatched everything. So I know my state has some to-dos. I can connect to the to-dos. I can put them in properties. I can dispatch something if I clicked something that it's finished. And that was it. For me, it felt like a normal application I was creating. And I didn't know I was creating a micro application because I could just use the Redux store. So it's really that simple. But of course, I didn't stop with that, because if I would say to all the teams, hey guys, start using Redux from now on, it will be easy, it will be good, it will go fast. But then the people in Angular will say, yeah, but we're used to NGRX. We don't want to use Redux. NGRX is much better than Redux. The Vue people will say, yeah, but we want to use Vuex. Another guy will have created his own state management library, and he says, yeah, but I want to use this. So in theory, technically, it's very simple, but people management, it's something else. Everybody wants to do his own way. So I created the proof of concept that you saw. It was with an NGRX store for Angular. It was with a Redux store for React, and it was with a Vuex store for Vue. So how did we do this? You have two ways of doing this. One, if it's possible, just create a wrapper around your source store and map every function, every method, every field from the source to the destination. Redux is something real simple. If you dive into the code, I think there are 4 functions in Redux. You have a dispatch, you have a replace reducer, you have the state, and I think that's it. You don't have more functions. So Redux was really simple to just wrap the NGRX store with a mapping class to just map every function of NGRX to Redux and the other way around. This way you could just pass your NGRX store to your React component and everything was working. Vue was something different. Apparently Vuex was completely not based on Redux because they thought, yeah, Redux is not good enough. So we're going to create something completely different. And it wasn't possible for me to just wrap NGRX with a wrapper to get Vuex. So here I created a new Vuex store, and I just created some functions to keep one store and the other store in sync. It's as simple as that. I will show the code. This is the code, everything I added just to go from NGRX to Redux. So on the left side, we see the NGRX Redux store, so it's just a wrapper to go from NGRX to Redux. As you can see, we have a getState function. It just returns the state of NGRX. We have a subscribe function. It just returns the subscribe function from NGRX. We have a dispatch function. Hey, it just returns the dispatch function from NGRX. And the replace reducer, I had to do something special because in NGRX you can add a reducer, you can remove them, but you cannot do it in one single go by replacing it. So I just, like everybody is used to in React, you create some async reducer key where you put all your async reducers. and this way it will work as well. We first remove the existing reducer, and then we just add the new reducer. So I think these are not 20 lines of codes, and suddenly my NGRX store could work in React applications thinking it was a full-blown Redux store. Just to show, this is the Angular code to just render the React. Normally we should do this with web components, like I said before. I was too lazy for the proof of concept, so I just used the React DOM directly. And as you can see, I just gave in the store. This is my NGRX store, and I just wrapped it. It's as simple as that. For the React code that I've shown previously, I didn't change a thing. He was still thinking. He was talking with a Redux store, and he didn't know that the real source was an NGRX store. So this way, you could keep, you can share some state between your React applications and your Angular applications, and your Angular developers can work with NGRX. Your React developers can work with Redux. For Vuex, it's the same. It's even less lines of codes than the React wrapper. So here we just say for Vue, okay, we have to use Vuex. We create a new Vuex store, and then the only thing, I subscribe to my NGRX store, and each time the state is updated, I just commit an update to the Vuex store. And then this is the clear all action that you can dispatch when you want to remove all the to-dos. So again, really simple. You don't have to do anything more, and you just render your Vue thing like you would render your React application. And really, that's everything I did for this proof of concept. So I hope that you guys didn't expect too much of a technical eye-opening thing, but it's really not that difficult to do. So for me, this is the reason. Just choose whatever framework that you want, for whatever technology that you want. They have proven it in backend for the last 10 years that it can work with a mix of different technologies. If you want to make it yourself easy, just go for Redux. You don't have to write any wrappers. You don't have to keep some stores in sync. But of course, you will have unhappy employees because they want to use the technology that they want to do. So you can just say to them, okay, if you create a wrapper, you can choose whatever you want. It's like 10, 20 lines of code, and you're finished. So for me, like I just said, if you can create a single page application in one technology, then you can do it with micro apps as well. If this is a way that you can find more developers because you're stuck in one technology, go for it. If this is a way to go faster, go for it. You get the benefits from micro apps that you can have separate deployments for each application. You can easily switch micro apps. They're so small. If 1 week one micro app can React, the other week it can be in Angular just because somebody wanted to rewrite it. Why not? So just do it. Keep it simple. Like I said, if possible, use one independent state management library. It can be Redux. It can be one that you created yourself. It can be NGRX if you have some libraries for using NGRX in React and the other frameworks. I doubt it, but maybe somebody wants to write this. But just keep it simple. And if you don't want to keep it simple, just create some simple wrappers, or keep your stores in sync, and everything else goes automatically. The people writing micro apps, they will not know that they're writing micro apps. For them, it's just full-blown standalone applications. We just share the state afterwards, and we keep them in sync, and that's all. So the last thing, questions? There's a mic. No questions about Vue, please. I don't.
Okay, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, you tried it out with a small to-do app, but you said in the beginning that it was because the company had a problem. Did you end up using it, or are you going to use it, or did you convince everybody?
No, but I think that's another reason. I did the proof of concept, and I think 2 or 3 weeks after that, I resigned the company. So I moved to another company. So I know I presented this to the CTO. He was happy, and I think he wanted to try something like this. I think Klaas can answer the question if they're going to use it or not. It was with Klaas, I worked there. But if I was still working there, I wouldn't. There were some plans for the first React applications, small React applications, to try it in this way. So I would definitely try it with a small application. Don't go in the beginning with your biggest application you have at your company. Try it with one simple React application or simple Angular application. But we were going to try it. I now work in another company where we only use one technology. So for now, I can't use it yet, but maybe I can convince them to start using multiple applications as well. I'm going to try it anyway, Jonas. So for me, I have some nice React reporting libraries that I can't find in Angular, so I'm probably going to do it as well for reporting. But I want to keep you updated if it works, but I would definitely try it out. And if it fails, you see, if it's a small application, I only had to write one extra class if you already have the applications to try it out. So in 1 week, you can see if it works or not. So just try it out, I would say.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think everyone is familiar with the Node modules folder. My question is, how do you keep your bundle small with this? How do you implement reshaking? Are you making it hard this way to reduce your bundle size, to reduce your shared components that you include with NPM?
That's totally not related to state management. That's more micro applications. But
you're completely right, because
no, there are solutions. If you read the blogs of Manfred, for instance, you could say everything that I know that is shared, I will abstract it to one single bundle, and I will just provide it in my index file so that every lazy loaded application afterwards knows, okay, it exists. I don't have to load it myself. I don't have to put it in my bundle. I know it will be there when I will be loaded. And this is a way how you can work as well. But then you need some more management, because then you need, there's more dependencies between the micro applications, because then you really have to say, okay, this application is using this library, I'm using the same. So in our bundling process, we have to make sure that this library is not bundled in our file, but it is bundled in a separate bundle. A lot of bundles. But then again, you will have to do a lot of management in your building system. And then you have to ask, does this has a lot of advantages than just working independently, completely from each other? And knowing, for instance, if we use some shared libraries and we have to make sure that we don't duplicate them in different applications. So one application is working with library version 1, the other as well, and then suddenly one application says, okay, I'm going to update it to version 2. Then again, you have a shared bundle, and then you break complete application 1, for instance. So I would just say, keep your bundles reasonable, do a decent caching strategy, that your browser cache everything, that your servers do a pretty good thing in caching, and just try to work as independently as possible. It will make your developer life much easier. Okay, your customer, it can be that they have to wait for 1 second longer maybe, but yeah, I would just do everything in the application and don't share anything.
Okay, thanks for the comment.
Yes.
So sharing global state is interesting. But have you given some thought to like sharing components between these frameworks?
So again, there are multiple solutions to do this, or you create some separate component libraries and you publish them to NPM and you use them in every application. And then you have the issue again. I updated something. You have to maintain everything
with the bindings. Like I can imagine you have like a form, and you want that to work in Angular, Vue, React. Like you have to have bindings for each individual.
I think if you want to go cross technology, what you can do, you can fall back for web components. We tried this in the previous company with Stencil. It's a library that compiles web components for you. I think you can write them in Vue and you can write them in React as well, I think, and you can compile them to web components so that you can use them everywhere. But we tried it out, and for us, it works, but it hadn't got the same snappiness if you would written native components for your framework itself. So again, you have to make the choice. Do you duplicate some work, or do you want to lose a little bit of the snappiness of your application? And I'm pretty sure once web components get a better support in all browsers, that it will go faster and faster. But for now, we tried it, correct me if I'm wrong, 6 months ago, class, something like this, or even longer ago. And it didn't have the outcome that we wanted. It didn't go faster because we had to tweak a lot of things. Okay, it worked in React, but then suddenly there was some minor glitches in Angular. Then in the end, you're more fiddling in components to just make it work everywhere. So for us, it was simpler. Just create a simple CSS UI library, and that you can reuse the CSS to make simple components in each technology that you want. For us, this was simpler. Just make some really dumb components. Normally, you don't have to maintain them once you created them. You will not have to change them. And okay, yeah. If you change your button, then you will have to change them for each technology that you use. But again, it's a trade-off. If you want to go for web components, it's possible, but you will notice it a little bit when you're running it in your browser.
Yep, that makes sense.
6 months ago. So maybe now it's fixed. Any other questions? Cool.
All right, thank you, Joris. Thanks, guys. So I just got the go sign from Jens. We'll be back in like 5 minutes, so grab a beer and come back, and we'll start with the second talk. Thank you.
Colegas.